Fucking tech moment. We're gonna go, man. We're gonna have fun on this one. I'm going hard at you today, Bruce. You're fucked, man. I want to lead us in. I want to lead this one in.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's go. Are we live or recording? They changed the format on this.
Yeah, recording. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we are live, episode 86 of the Awkward Watersports Guys podcast. Today we have Dr. Evil himself.
What?
Bruce. The world thing was so fucking perfect, dude. Dude, when you wear, all right, so we got Bruce Rosard from Arival, but I got it like you wear this gray shirt, man. You wear this gray shirt, and it's so funny, like you and Doug, right? So Doug's like Mr. Nice Guy, he's like good cop, and you got like he's got the white flowing button down shirt, and I swear to God, I think it was like 6 months before I ever fucking knew that you could smile. Like you had the gray shirt in the background, like always boating, and I'm fucking like a foreboding, and I'm like, fuck, man, I'm terrified of this guy, and then we got to know each other, and you were like a really nice guy. But I thought it was funny because when we came in, like Bruce has got this like snap camera or something that has a picture of the world, and I was like, oh, fucking perfect, Mr. World Domination, here he comes. You remind me of a Bond villain, man.
Oh man, this is news to me. This is news to me. That's for sure.
I'm telling you, you're of the good cop, bad cop. You're the bad. Sometimes, like, man, not like you're a bad guy, but you're like serious, man. You're like fucking down to business, you know. And
I'm from Philly. I don't know if you guys know that. Originally, I spent my first 30 years in Philly, and you know, when you're in Philly, you just say it like it is, right? You don't fuck around. You just say what you think, and that's really hard for people. Now that I live in Colorado, people aren't used to that. Like the West Coasters, they're not used to me just saying what I think. And so I think that's part of what you're talking about. Like I'm direct.
I love it.
Right?
I love it. It's missing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like right before we went live, we were talking about like, you know, Bruce is like, fucking man, how do you deal with this guy, Greg? You know, like, aren't you worried they're going to like cancel your podcast? And it's like, yeah, well, cause same, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming we're like right around the same age. Like you're in your 40s, right? Somewhere there in the late 40s?
Not 50s? Even close, dude.
No? Okay.
Here, do the math. Do the math. So I lived half of my life in Philly for 30 years and half of my life in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, I missed the half part.
Yeah.
I missed the half. I just heard 30 years, so I lose track of time. But fuck,
30 plus 30. Yeah.
Well, okay, so you remember that like things have like sort of changed. Like, you know, you really like things are a little different. You used to fucking say what you want, and fucking ball busting was like, even like comedy movies, like people fucking said shit, fucking off color comments, and it was okay. We weren't interconnected like we are now. So it's and I'm not doing like the old guy slant or anything like, ah, damn kids, you know, but it's like shit, man. I gotta watch what I say sometimes, you know. It's like, especially on a world stage, like Doug kind of brought that up to me. I'm not a worldly guy. Don't let the throat tattoos fool you.
Yeah, but you were awesome on stage, Kevin. You really were. You really brought a great spirit on stage, and I'm not bullshitting.
Well, what I think Kevin brings to the Arival experience is that like it shows that there's a lot of diversity between like when I first went to Arival, you know, there wasn't a big like blue collar presence. Like that's what I got like the first time I went, right? And even though I feel like you need to have a wide spectrum to understand the tour industry as a whole. Like my most of my experience has been with guys like Kevin, you know, because people that rent boats, being outside for 16 hours a day, you know, it's, you know, working on engines and stuff. It's not the same as someone doing tours of New York, walking tours of New York or New Orleans. It's different.
Yeah, no, that's kind of true, I think, Greg. I mean, we always want Arival to encapsulate the entire experiences industry, right? From the small walking tour or kayak operator up to Disney World and everything in between. That's really what we want Arival to be, and it is what it is, versus being at these huge conferences where experiences are just a small part.
But what I was going to say, Bruce, is that I feel like really gotten there. Like, I feel like Arival, and that's a lot of work that you and Douglas and your team have been doing to really bridge the gap between all spectrums of the industry. But I feel like there's a lot of diversity now at Arival.
And there's also diversity that we're really working on, the DEI of diversity, equity, inclusion, which is a big part of what we're trying to do as well. Just so I think it's pretty funny. When we started thinking about the mission of Arival, we came up with the slogan of "Get your head out of the kayak," right? Because a lot of people in this industry, probably like you, Kevin, I don't know enough about your history, started out as a guide, like a kayak guide, or doing that, and then said, "Oh, I'll buy the business from the owner," or "Oh, I'll just start my own business." And you're great at being a guide, but you don't know shit about running a business. And I'm not saying you specifically, Kevin, because I know
I don't. I'm an idiot. That's fine.
So the idea was to teach people who are great guides how to run businesses. And that's what Arival tries to do. We're not the teachers. We try to bring smart people like you two together to then teach the people that are trying to learn the business.
Yeah. So I think and here's my take on Arival is that so there's this weird delta between like blue collar, white collar, right? If you think blue collar, you think uneducated, traditionally uneducated, having a degree, and then white collar, you think having at least I do. That's maybe I'm wrong on that, but I would say that the general populace agrees with that. So and now. And not that there seems to be this delta between brick and mortar and online. So a lot of times when you just see like these brick and mortar models, you think like mom and pop shops, you think independent operator, and it's not necessarily that they're uneducated, but there's a general sense that, at least anecdotally speaking, that when I'm talking to other operators or independently run businesses, not just in tourism, but in general, a lot of these people that are at least in my age bracket in their, early 40s, late 30s, getting their businesses started, that they didn't have an education. Because if you put your time into getting educated, a master's degree, a doctorate, or even a 4-year degree, you sort of you're like most people are in line with having a career at that point. And your mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s, you're sort of in the middle of that career. So I think that and I could be wrong, but I would guess that a great many operators are uneducated, are blue collar, are brick and mortar. I wouldn't even guess that they're brick and mortar. They are. So this is where I find Arival sort of like an interesting, almost character study, right? Because all of these guys, for the most part, they might have education. They're out there doing their New York walking tour, what have you, a kayak tour, whatever have be. But the reality of it is I think most of these operators, a lot of them, at least in the States, I can't speak to, what happens in Europe or Asia, are generally guys like me, guys, gals, whatever. you know what I mean? Are people like me.
Hey everyone, we're going to take a quick break to talk about our sponsor for the month, the Von Mack Agency. Von Mack is a full-service digital marketing agency with a focus on tour and activity operators. They offer it all. SEO, websites, pay-per-clicks, logos, content writing. If it's online marketing, they got you covered. As we mentioned before, it's uber important to hire an agency that understands our industry. And the Von Mack Agency knows water sports. Trust me.
And they do all the shit that you don't want to do. They do all the shit that you're probably not very good at, and they are. Look, for listeners of the show, America herself is giving a free consult, all right? If nothing else, give her a shout, give her a call, take 30 minutes out of your day. More importantly, take 30 minutes out of her day so she can get you straight on your marketing needs.
That's right. What do you have to lose? Head to vonmackagency.com and go to the Contact Us page to get started. Again, vonmackagency.com. And most importantly, let them know you were sent by the AWG guys. All right, let's get back to the show.
There's such a wide variety. There's 1 million operators in the world, according to our 2019 research. So maybe there's wild. A few less now. And I don't know if it's so much blue collar or white collar. I know attorneys who've given up their legal career because now they're running a tour guide business, right?
Good point.
But I do think the point you made that's really interesting, it's online and offline is the divide now. right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, Greg's built his entire business based on online. So any operator who's not online, that's the divide. I don't care if they're white collar, blue collar, PhD in tours, right? But if you're not online, you're falling behind. So I look at what you said as that being the divide. Like, you got to understand digital connectivity and how to sell your stuff online.
So I 100% couldn't agree more. It's funny because you said to me like at Arival, like, yeah, you're a sales guy, Kevin. I'm like, that's pretty funny because I started off very much as a digital marketing guy. I built my own site. I'm probably, if you talk to Steve from AMP, he will tell you that I'm probably more involved in my digital marketing than anybody that he's got with him. So I very much this year I did turn my eye towards sales, and I did because there was there was a lack of conversions on the phone because I was so focused on digital marketing. So this year at our conference, like, I've definitely taken a step back from talking about the digital side. And yeah, like I said that to my partner the other day. He goes, well, if we can't make this connection on the back end. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. My business is not dictated by technology. I was like, it wasn't too long ago, my friend, that there was no back end or API connections. People did all of this stuff over the phone and on pen and paper. And not to say that that's the route that you should be going, but you should never be handcuffed by anything in your business. Definitely not technology. That's supposed to, this is supposed to make us uninhibit us, make our lives easier, automate things. It definitely you shouldn't be. And so that's this year. This is like, I'm sort of like taking a step back from the digital.
You're going back to the roots. Back to the roots.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Personal
because
sales.
Leaving meat on the if it's leaving meat on the bone, I will go anywhere, forward, backwards, wherever it may be. Because at the end of the day, we all believe in our products. We all want to give a great customer experience. But if I can't pay my rent, if I can't pay my mortgage, then it's
all about channels too. I was on the phone with someone yesterday. It was super interesting. As an operator, he said, when I started, I was brand new to this business. Actually, he had an MBA and he was a teacher and decided to do this. He does love tours in San Francisco. He bought like 10 VW buses and does tours in San Francisco. Super cool. And he said that when he started, he identified 120 channels. And he didn't mean like 120 OTAs. He meant different channels. And one being just people calling him, right? One being people walking into his retail outlet, one being working with different OTAs or concierge at the hotels. And I think that's what you're saying, Kevin. You have to understand all your channels. You can't rely just digital, just phone calls, but you have to look at all of it and see how it all fits.
Yeah, and acquisitions, it's like I'm sorry, Greg, I didn't mean to jump on your feet, but I just want to put a period on that. It's like, and then that also, I think sometimes we get completely hung up on acquisition and we're just like acquiring, trying to like, how much do I acquire? Like, I'll fucking pay 95%. I don't care. Just give me a customer. And that's fantastic, but you have to walk that back too, because eventually you're going to have to look and go like, oh man, cost of acquisition, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's all this like, hey, my docs are on fire down the road, but I'm like worried about like how I'm going to get this next customer. And that's sort of like the interesting part in my journey that like I'm learning about this MBA stuff. I'm like focusing now toward on not just, marketing development, but total business development. I don't understand this stuff, but I'm sorry, Greg, I know you want to jump in here. After that, let's let Bruce tell his story. Like we just got like right into the fucking chilling.
That's
on this
exactly
stuff,
what I was doing. Let's rewind it back.
Yeah, for sure.
Bruce, tell us about how you got into the industry and how you started Arival, and then let's get into the nuts and bolts of Arival 2022.
Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break and talk about our sponsor, Boat Test 101. Boat Test 101 is FWC and NASBO accredited online provider of both temporary certificate and full card.
Yeah, guys, if you can't tell, Greg takes it super seriously. Have you been taking voice lessons, man? You sound so pro, dude. So yeah, Destiny Water Adventures uses Boat Test 101. When somebody shows up super late and they go, hey, or just on time for their tour, their jet ski or their boat, and they're like, we have to take a boat test. And then we have to break out the paper and they have to sit there for 30 minutes. They miss half their time. They get late. You get bad reviews. When you guys can just SMS, text them a link, email them to your Boat Test 101 affiliate link. They take the test online on their way there. They don't have to sit out in the hot sun. They take the test on their way or before they get there. They email you their ID and their boat test. They're good to go right when they walk up to the door. They sign your paperwork and on the water they go. It's easy breezy.
They pay an industry-leading commission of 30%, and their boating tests are $1 cheaper than the competitors at $8.99 a test. No contract to you, and there's no cost. So you can get started right away and start making some money and providing a better experience for your guests. BoatTest101.com. Again, BoatTest101.com, and tell them that the AWG guys sent you.
That's right. Take your boating test as serious as Greg took this commercial and get your asses over to BoatTest101.com and sign up today.
All right, let's get back to the show.
All right. I'll give you the real high level, 30,000 foot or 50,000 foot level. Graduated from University of Connecticut and started a ski travel company. So I was a tour operator, like you, Kevin, and the other million operators out there, except for I was a multi-day operator, not a single-day operator. We sold ski vacations all over the world. We started out just selling them to college kids, built a website in 1994. So we went digital super early before really any ski resorts did almost. And at that point, I kind of discovered for myself online travel and just really became enamored with online travel and what digital could do for travel. So I spent 23 years running a company called Moguls Mountain Travel. And then we sold it. Long story short, we sold it 3 times, but we'll not get into the details of that. If you want, over beers at Arival, would love to talk to you about that. I went to work at Focusrite after that, which was specifically focused on events and research for online travel, technology, trends, innovation. That's where I met Douglas Quinby, who's now my partner at Arival. And we did the first ever research project on this sector that we now call in-destination experiences. We market sized it at like $38 billion back in 2010, US only. And we were off to the races on this industry that no one even knew was an industry at the time. Fast forward a few years, I left the company. Douglas stayed there. He did more research and got it up to about $180 billion market size for our industry globally. And that was the standard that the Focusrite research, which was Douglas's research, set of how big our industry really is. After a couple of years, Douglas came to me, said, hey, let's run a conference for tourism activities. And we had a third partner with us, Alex Kramer, and the three of us got together. And in 2017, we had our first ever Arival event in Vegas. We got about 550 people. We came back the next year for 1,200 people and then returned to Orlando, which both of you were at, obviously, with 1,250 people, followed by Berlin and Bangkok. And we were off to the races in 2019 as a global company. And then, of course, COVID hit. So we were stuck for a couple of years of doing online and not being able to run conferences. And we returned to running conferences by helping an event in Dubai and Seville, Spain, and then our own event in San Diego in February, and then an event in Berlin in June, and back to Vegas in October, which we're super excited about. So that was fast.
You're not the only one, buddy.
What do I owe you?
What's that?
You said I owe you one?
No, I said I can't. I'm excited for that one. I'm really excited for Vegas.
So let's edit that one out, Greg. Whatever that was.
No, you do owe me one, actually.
All right. Well, I will buy you all the beer you want,
coffee.
Kevin. I already do, since Arival provides a lot of coffee. Then coffee's fucking $90 a gallon at these hotels. Yeah, I mean, think about that. Yeah, what's the profit?
I would bring my own.
Yeah, bring your own coffee and just stash it. Yeah.
$90 a gallon? Wait, hold on. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. They charge you for the event, or you just know that factoid?
No, I know that. That's in our F&B budget. And it's plus. So it's actually only $89 plus tax, like 20%, plus service charge, 25%. So when you add that
in, they charge you the event coordinator $90. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were saying that they pay $90 for a. I'm like, I didn't even know you could get coffee by the gallon.
No, if you want coffee at Arrival, we have to provide it because everyone wants coffee, and we pay $90 a gallon. Actually, more than that, right?
So Kevin, for our conference, it's $38 for a boxed lunch. A shitty boxed lunch, $38 per person.
And you're not in a deluxe hotel, right?
No, we're not at a deluxe hotel.
Right, you're in a moderate hotel. And the nicer the hotel, the more the shit
And so
costs.
Next for all that are listening, you know, when you hear about what you pay per ticket, and I know it's, you know, Arrival's obviously a lot more than our Watersport conference, but like there's not a whole lot of meat on the bone at the end unless a ton of people come. And obviously, in this economy, it's not, it's not likely, right? But yeah, Doug, Bruce, tell us a little. What's new this year? You're in Vegas. I went to Vegas a couple years ago or a few years ago. Man, all the lines are blurred, but I had a blast. It was one of the best events I ever went to. It was at the Hard Rock. I gambled a lot, and I got to network with a lot of.
I hate to interrupt before we get into the fucking soft sell. Can we rewind it? So we're gonna sell the shit out of Arrival, Bruce. Don't worry about that. Let's not.
I'm not here to sell Arrival. I'm not here to sell Arrival. You guys.
I am. I love.
Podcast.
I love Arrival.
Let's do a commercial.
Let's do it. Yeah. Why aren't you? What's wrong with you? Don't let Greg do that shit. You do that shit. Like Arrival's great. Lots of cool people. We're gonna do that. Before we do that, so here's the thing. Like I'll soft sell. I co-sign anything that I fucking think is a great product, man. And I don't. You know, I don't co-sign or soft sell anything. I don't soft sell anything. I'll hard sell a motherfucker. I'm like, what are you doing? Come to Arrival. It's fucking Las Vegas, dude. Like, you don't even have to go to the fucking thing. Just come hang out, drink, fucking gamble. If you're in Orlando, we go to like roller coasters. You know, dude, it's like I'll fucking hard sell that shit, man. I'm not even gonna soft sell it. But we were gonna get into that before we get into that. 2022. I'd like to talk about 2020 or Orlando. Can you talk about like moving the event from Orlando to San Diego? Can you get into that at all? Like what behind like the decision making? Like, cool, because this was sort of like, I don't know, at the end of COVID, at least in Florida, we were done because you and I like talked a little bit, and Douglas, me and Douglas and I talked about like the climate here, not temperature wise, but the climate around COVID. So tell me a little bit about that. It must have been an incredibly difficult decision to cancel Orlando, and why you guys did that. Or walk back a little bit.
Just that, I mean, we had to make a number of incredibly difficult decisions, starting with Berlin, because our Berlin event was supposed to start March 1, 2020. And it's right before ITB Berlin, which is the largest B2B event in the travel industry. It has like almost 100,000 attendees. And we decided we need to see, are they going to run ITB? If they are, then we should run Arrival Berlin. Are they going to cancel ITB? If they are, then we should cancel Arrival Berlin. This was right early when in Europe, it was only in Italy. And it was in Iran and it was in China. Like that's where COVID was. So we were in Berlin. People started arriving in Berlin. We couldn't decide because we wanted to wait for ITB. ITB didn't make a fucking decision. We finally made our decision. We're canceling it. We don't want to have a super spreader event. 4 hours later, ITB Berlin canceled. And that was a really, really hard decision. There were 125 people already in Berlin when we canceled. They created an event called Unarrival, and they did their own thing. And for a lot of them, that was the best event they ever experienced. So now we fast forward about a year and a half to October of 2020, I guess it was, maybe 21. COVID is starting to calm down. Vaccines are starting to come out. So we could have run an event in Orlando. We were contracted to run an event in Orlando. But 3 months out, we were getting more cancels. We already had people registered, but we were getting more cancels than registrations. So we could not have run a successful event, right? And it wasn't so much that we can't run, we're not going to come to Orlando. It was more, we're not going to run an event if no one's going to fucking come. And, the Florida people would come because in Florida, you guys had your own, hey, we're past it. We're going to run past it. You never even stop business in Florida. But in the rest of the country, people didn't want to go to Florida. It was still a hot spot. And it just didn't make financial sense for us to run an event. It was a really hard decision. We had to do a lot of wheeling and dealing with the hotel to get out of our contract to push it forward. And we're going back to the Rose and Shingle Creek in Orlando in 2023. So we will be there. But it just came down to that. We were too many cancellations to make sense of it, including sponsors. I mean, we had major sponsors who said they're not coming. So we were going to, eat our lunch if we went. So, okay, now
I wasn't, well, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. It was just, I was like, I didn't realize you guys had, I guess I did realize, but it was like those almost 2 years. It was almost kind of like a blur, I think, for a lot of us. But I wasn't sure if that was like the main reason, like your ticket sales just, suffered, sponsorship suffered. I wasn't, because I was just kind of like at that point, like a lot of people, especially here in Florida, we were just kind of like, burst the doors open. You know what I mean? Like, let's get back to life as normal, man.
Let's go.
So,
yeah. Well, there were some events. I think even IAPA ran a month after we were going to do Arrival, right? And IAPA is a huge event. But we can't run a conference that loses hundreds of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And we had a contract that was like a $500,000 contract with the Rose and Shingle Creek that we had to negotiate out of to make that happen. So it was a lot of high pressure discussions and decisions, and we definitely made the right decision, we think.
Yeah, for sure.
And we were able to pull off a great event in San Diego. I know Greg was there because I know, Greg, you spent most of the time in the hot tub, is from what I
did.
can tell.
Yeah,
correct.
I did.
He was in the hot tub the entire time. Anytime you could find him.
I made a couple good deals with some partners in the hot tub.
Hot tubs are great. When I was in the ski business, my best business was chairlifts and hot tubs. That's where I did business for sure. And San Diego was right in the middle of freaking Omicron. So here we waited for a couple of years to do an event, and then our first event is right in the middle of Omicron. But everyone was vaccinated.
Do you remember when Kevin was doing his presentation and Bruce walks in, and Kevin, you're talking about insurance, and then Bruce is like, "Speaking of insurance, put your mask on."
He's like, "Yeah, I don't know why."
Masks were required. Like, that was a California state law, right, or whatever regulation. So we agreed to, we knew we had to do whatever California state regulations were. Masks were required indoors, which was what was great about San Diego. We had so much outdoor space, right? So people could hang out outdoors and not worry about it.
What I liked about San Diego, so we sponsored San Diego, but, in the past conferences, there's a lot of people, 1,200 people, and some of the bigger decision makers, they are tied up. They got a lot of people that they need to meet and talk to, where in San Diego, there was half of the typical attendance. So a lot of those bigger decision makers were available. Like, you could walk up to them and have a long conversation, made for better networking. Obviously, not for better margins for Arrival, but for me as a sponsor and an attendee, I really enjoyed it. And I've never been to San Diego. I thought the resort was great. Remember the bathrooms with the vodka monkeys?
Yeah, I do.
The vodka monkeys. That's all I remember. That's okay.
To that point, it was funny. There's somebody snapped a picture of me, and I'm standing around like the whole check front team, and Jason's there, which I love that guy. Like, we always shoot comments back and forth on Facebook. You know what I mean? He's like Jason's a really smart guy. He did our show I don't know, a year or two ago, and I really like Morehouse, but his whole staff was there, and they're all like in their like fucking business casual or whatever, and I've got like a tank top on and these like weird cherry swim trunk shorts are like just super, and I'm not, and these guys are drinking. I'm not drinking. I don't drink, and I have like a water, but I look like a total fucking lunatic because I'm waiting for him at the hot tub, and I get there and it's like locked and it's cold as shit out there, and I'm like, man, I'm not standing out here like some kind of fucking stalker in my weird outfit outside the hot tub, like just waiting for somebody to join me. So I like stroll over to the fucking bar, and all these guys are in their goddamn button downs, and here I am standing there like, yo, let's have like a fucking business conversation. I look like a dick. And someone takes a picture of it. I don't know. It was like a really great candid picture too. It was like, yeah, I belong.
We got to find that picture and put it on our homepage for sure. Hey, I know you're running short on time. I want to make sure you get whatever info you want out of me. You're right, Greg. People loved San Diego because it was small. It was like 550 people, and we heard a lot of feedback. Oh, it was intimate. We got to spend more time with people, blah, blah, blah. We can't run 500-person conferences at the scale we do because, again, we'll lose money. So we're glad people love the 500-person conference. We had a 350-person event in Berlin. But
Bruce needs to pay his mortgage.
People. So if you're out there, you should come. Just the secret sauce, really simply. Like, I don't need to pitch Arrival to your audience. You guys do. You already do it. Anyone in your group that has been to Arrival, it's all word of mouth. We know that. But the secret sauce is learning from each other, right? Like water sports operators learn from other water sports operators. At Arrival, they're all from all over the world, or at least this year all over the country because of COVID kept cutting down international. And there's not a competitive feel, right? Like if I do what you do, and I'm based in San Diego, Kevin, and you're based, throughout Florida, we don't compete, so we can share knowledge, share information, and that really is what happens more than anything. Is this what we call peer-to-peer learning at Arrival? Like that's the secret sauce. There's obviously a lot more beyond that, but that's a big part of it.
To be fair, what I've really learned, and it doesn't bother me at all with this show. We have a large demographic that downloads come from our direct market. So I have people in Destin. I work with our operators because what I've seen, especially for insurance purposes and everything else, is if everyone's doing a good job, it bodes well for all of us. And no, don't get me wrong. We have like sort of it's like maybe like a purple ocean here a little bit, where it's like there's a huge demand for what we offer. So there's a lot of room for competition. But I think to that point as well, there's not that many secrets. Like there's just not that you can go online and figure out anything. It's not like there's some marketing like secret or you understand what a good website is.
But it's certainly like ways to kill it. And as they say, rise all boats or whatever that phrase is.
A rising tides raise all ships.
There you are. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So our industry has nowhere to go but up. It's the fastest growing part of travel. It's a huge fucking segment of travel. And the better everyone is, the better it will be for everybody. Experiences are it right now. That's what everybody is talking about, are experiences. And we can have a huge successful industry. And that's what Arrival is all about, is trying to make the industry more successful.
So what can we look forward to in Vegas, man? Like, I don't know. I haven't been looking at any of the marketing materials. I already bought my tickets. I'm already sold. I don't need to read anything. I'll be there. I'm excited for it. But
yeah, it all depends on speakers, who the speakers are, and some of the themes. So what we're really excited about, have you guys heard of Meow Wolf? Meow Wolf is like the number one immersive attraction in the country, if not the world. They're only in Vegas, so we can go check it out in Vegas, and Denver and Santa Fe. Really cool. If you go check it out, basically the guy who's coming to speak is one of the co-founders, and he's like, it's an acid trip without the acid, going to Meow Wolf, basically. So he's really interesting speaker, and just we're definitely getting into immersive experiences. And there's a number of people who will be talking about that. So that's one theme that's different. We haven't done that before. TikTok. I don't know if either of you guys are into TikTok yet. And I say yet because if you're not yet, you will be soon. You have to be. TikTok is, basically, what is it now? Number 1 or 2 social media platform in the world.
It's one of the largest visited websites in the world. Like, it eclipsed Google for visitors a few months ago.
I don't know. Did it eclipse Google or Facebook?
No, Google. It was the highest. It was the most highest visited website. Maybe it was like 3 or 4 months ago.
Whatever it is,
it
it's fucking huge.
Visitors. It's enormous.
It's perfect for experiences, right? Like, everyone should be working to get TikTok videos out about what they do.
Yeah.
And okay, but how do you do that? How do you have a call to action that can actually drive business? we're going to be digging into that. We're going to have someone on our main stage digging into that. We're going to have workshops digging into that. So that we've never done before. Connectivity is a big issue. It has been for a while, but we're going to continue to lean into connectivity. We have, Octo is a standards, basically nonprofit that, Greg, I hope you're involved with. If you're not, you should be.
We're integrated with them. Yeah.
You are, yeah. So we're going to have an Octo meeting before the event, but connectivity is going to be a theme throughout the event. By that, I mean operator connected to ResTech, connected to distribution platforms, right? So you, Kevin, whatever ResTech you use is tied in to TripShock. That's your connectivity, right? But obviously you don't want to just be tied into TripShock. Sorry, Greg. You want to be connected to all the other distribution platforms that you work with through an API. So it's just one click, ties in all of your inventory and all your pricing. So that's another thing. One I'm really excited about is storytelling. We're going to have Mitch Bach from Trip School and Tourpreneur fame, and Akela McConnell, who's based in Atlanta, Unexpected Atlanta Tours, who probably did the best ever talk at an Arrival event a few years back. They're going to run a double session on storytelling, and why that's the most important thing a tour operator can do is really create stories that hit people's emotions and will make them remember what they saw. So really looking forward to that one. We have, this is a returning session, but I still think it's important to note, is website critiques. So we're going to have probably 15 or 20 people from the marketing agencies like AMP and Blend and TRK and a few others. And they will be doing one-on-one or one-on-two website critiques for any operator that wants to put their website out and say, okay, tell me what I could do better. So that's like a small snippet of what we're doing. My biggest concern is often we do too much and people have to choose what they want to do. And I do get concerned about that. Douglas and I both, we get concerned about that, but we want to cover the hot topics.
So we've been pulling a lot of our community to go to Arrival, which has been great. People have been listening to Kevin, which, I sometimes recommend doing.
All right, Kevin, I'll buy you, you don't drink, so I'll buy you donuts with your coffee.
You mentioned acid. I will trip balls. So
okay,
I'm gonna hand out some acid. I want to do that and go to Meow Wolf. That sounds Meow Wolf sounds great. Something like being on acid, but with acid.
Weed is legal in Vegas, but I'm not sure if acid is. Mushrooms are legal in Denver, or they're decriminalized. But I don't think I want to buy any and fly them into Vegas for you. So we might have to wait a little bit for that.
Yeah, man.
I'll just take a whole bunch on the plane before I get there.
Yeah. So where I was going with that is that we have a lot of new people coming from our community, and they ask, like, what do I do? Like, what event should I sign up with? How do I get the most out of it? And it doesn't mean that you have to go to every single workshop, every single presentation. That's not how you get the most out of it. Pick the ones that you need held the most, but also look at all the people that are there. Like, I feel like the networking is the best opportunity to have. If I have to skip a session to have an opportunity to talk to an operator that I have a lot of respect for, that I've been following, get a 20, 30 minutes, that's just as good as going to a workshop.
That's one-on-one. That's
that is. So don't think that you have to go to every single, because that you'll miss out on some of the best opportunities to learn if you just go to every session. Even to the one, I remember going the first time I went to sessions that really didn't interest me, just because I wanted to make sure I was getting a lot of value out of it. But then I realized that's not how I get value out of it. I want to meet people and network and focus on what I like. When I went in San Diego, I had some objectives. Like, I really wanted to connect with a few certain individuals. Arrival helped create that platform for me to meet those people in a way where they were ready to do business.
I mean, the value starts the second you walk in the door, right? Yeah. Although that's the value starting, but you need to prepare ahead of time. And that's a big gap for people who don't do a lot of events. That's kind of one of the first lessons, is start 2 weeks, 3 weeks before. Look at the attendee list, which is in the app, and highlight, okay, I want to meet him, her, him, her, right? And then connect with them on the app and make appointments. And we always talk to people at our welcome orientation, use your breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for your most important appointments. Like, if I decide it's the most important thing is I want to meet with Kevin, Kevin, what are you doing for breakfast Tuesday? Nope. Wednesday? Nope. Lunch Tuesday, right? Like, make sure you really reach out and connect with the people you want to do ahead of time. Because it gets really fucking crazy at the event. Because, like you said, Greg, everyone's running around trying to have meetings. There are, it also, you don't need to go to all the sessions. Like, don't go to all the sessions.
No. The happy hours,
to do business.
I think it's like awkward for people a little bit sometimes with those like, and because it is a business event. But what I love is the people having a couple drinks, letting your hair down, like, you know what I mean? It's natural. You know what I mean? You bend somebody's ear and have a great conversation over a couple of drinks. I like the shocker, but I like the idea of like, I always milled around during those sessions and I would run into people and I'd be like, oh, hey, yeah, I saw some of your content, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was super natural. I made a ton of friends, a ton of networks. I mean, like, Arrival's done a ton for me personally, for my personal brand, for our podcast, for all of this stuff. And when we had Doug on last time, we sort of talked about that a little bit, like all this stuff that we've done, it wouldn't even be here if there wasn't a meeting place designated for, we're all like armies of one. Some of us, you only got one guy, one CEO, one founder, no business partners. They just have their employees. Nobody's going to understand or empathize with your struggle more or your successes more than other attendees at a conference for tourism. And even if it's not like a scheduled thing, I've made a ton of relationships from Arrival just from casual conversations. And I think that's the biggest value that Arrival brings to the table. I mean, I'm interested in the TikTok stuff. I'm going to send my partner to do all the learning for me. I'm going to do what I do best and walk around and fucking bullshit with people.
And, what you're talking about is the community. Like, a big part of what Arrival's goal is to really create a community in this whole sector and making it global.
You have.
As well.
You've done a great job. You guys have done a fantastic job of achieving that objective.
That's what we want to be all about. And, just you talk about the networking part in a cool atmosphere. We have a pre-arrival event. Last year, I don't know if either of you guys run the boat ride that Hornblower did, in the San Diego harbor. Did either of you get to that?
Way too cold for me, man.
Cold?
Yeah.
So this year we're doing it at Flyover Vegas, which is like this virtual reality ride in Las Vegas on the Strip. And there's going to be a party, and that's happening pre-arrival. And then we have the welcome party and the last party. And then, for our Arrival insiders, we're going to do the high roller, the big roller attraction at Arrival. So those are all networking experiences that are casual, like you said, Kevin. We have long lunch breaks, unlike a lot of events. They're an hour and a half. We have long coffee breaks. So there's just a lot of opportunity to do what you're talking about, Kevin, because we know how important that is.
So, Bruce, we're at time, and I just want to thank you for coming on the show, and also thank you and the Arrival team for being so supportive of our podcast, our mission, our community. I think we definitely pay it forward. We look forward to having a great event at Arrival. So,
absolutely.
If you want to, can you leave us just with the link? Go ahead, Kevin. I
wanted to just say, guys, don't be afraid of Bruce. He's much nicer than he comes off. He's not Dr. Evil.
I'll talk to anyone.
He's a nice guy, man. He might bust your balls, but
yeah. No, thanks.
Send all of your networking time with Bruce. Go up and tell him like you're a Philly 76ers fan.
The first time I come, like, what do I do? I'm intimidated. If there's part of your community, the water sports community, reach out to them and say, hey, we're here. Come find us on Monday or Tuesday. We'll kind of give you a quick orientation of how to get
we'll create like a messenger group like we did last time, so that way everyone kind of know where we're at. But real quick, Bruce, website and dates, just run it down real fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's arrival.travel. Arrival has one R, for those of you who don't know. So that's the website, and then you can just search for events, and you can find the Vegas event on the homepage. The dates are October 10 to 13. That's a Monday through Thursday. The pre-arrival event will be that Sunday night. But October 10 to 13 is when the event takes place.
Killer, man.
Bruce
thanks for coming on, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It was fun. Right. I appreciate it. We'll see you in Vegas.
Sounds
Take care,
good.
buddy.
See